He replaced me as his best man without even a heads up. Just a hey, sorry man. It's not personal, like I'd been booted from a group chat. Turns out, his perfect bride had a problem with me. Of course, she did. She cheated on me. I'm Nathan. I was 27 when this all started, broke, loyal, and way too trusting. Jason was my best friend, the kind of guy who'd bail you out at 2 a.m. until he stopped picking up the phone. I don't play victim, but I sure as hell remember who threw the first punch. Turns out being the nice guy just makes you the easiest one to cut. So here's the thing. I didn't even want to be Jason's best man. Weddings aren't my scene. I'm not great with speeches, and I've always thought bachelor parties were just group therapy with more alcohol and fewer feelings. But when your best friend since second grade asks you, you say yes. It's not about the party. It's about showing up. And I did. I showed up to everything. The planning meetings. The awkward double dates with Claire. The suit fittings. I was even the one who convinced Jason to ditch the cringe Pinterest-themed proposal he had lined up and go with something simpler. More personal. He thanked me. Told me I was his rock. That we'd been through everything together and it wouldn't feel right without me up there. Then, 2 months before the wedding, he dropped the bomb. We were supposed to grab drinks to finalize bachelor party plans. I showed up to the bar. He showed up with that I'm about to do something cowardly face. You know the one. All fake smiles and shifting eyes. He didn't even buy a beer. Just sat down and said, "Hey man, Claire and I talked, and she doesn't think it's a good idea for you to be in the wedding party anymore." I actually laughed. Thought he was joking. Then I realized he wasn't. "She thinks you're not really supportive of us," he said. "And like, you've been kinda distant lately." Distant. After I helped him move into her apartment. After I fronted the deposit for the damn venue because her credit was maxed out. Distant. I asked him straight up, "Did Claire tell you to cut me out?" He hesitated, looked down at his drink, and then gave me that classic weak-ass answer. It's not about taking sides. It's about the energy we want around us that day. Energy. Jesus. That's when I knew something was off. Claire had always been polite to me, in that tight smile, white wine, passive-aggressive kind of way. But I chalked it up to her being high-strung. I didn't know she hated me, until I remembered something. Back when Jason first got engaged, he mentioned Claire had seen an old picture of me and her maid of honor, Emily. I think he called it weird vibes. Claire had been cold ever since. What she didn't know, or maybe did, was that before she even met Jason, she and I dated. Briefly. Real briefly. College flings don't come with resumes. It ended when she ghosted me out of nowhere. Found out weeks later she'd been hooking up with someone else. Jason never said who. I didn't ask. Didn't want to know. Yeah, you see where this is going. I didn't blow up that night. I just nodded, finished my drink, and left. Told him I wouldn't make things awkward. Told him I'd step back. "Whatever makes your big day easier," I said. But something inside me cracked. The next few weeks were a blur. Mutual friends texted, confused. One even asked if I'd bailed on the role. I didn't correct them. Didn't say anything. Let Jason spin whatever story he wanted. Then came the bachelor party. Jason still invited me. Said it wouldn't be the same without you. Which was rich, considering I wasn't allowed to stand next to him at the altar anymore. But fine. We went to this generic rented cabin. Booze, poker, the usual crap. Everyone got too drunk. Jason gave some half-assed speech about brotherhood that made me want to vomit. And then, one of the guys, Evan, passed me his phone. Said, "Bro, check this out." It was a screenshot. Claire. A group chat with her and a couple of the bridesmaids. Weeks ago. Talking about me. Claire. Jason's being too soft. He still thinks Nathan's a real friend. She's already told me he used to hook up with Emily. Can you imagine if that came up at the reception? Also, I'm pretty sure he had a thing for me. It's giving obsessed ex. I laughed so hard I choked on my beer. Then I got quiet. Real quiet. I didn't say anything the rest of the weekend. Just watched Jason, wondering how the hell he still believed any of her bullshit. That Monday, I left the group chat. Deleted numbers. Ghosted them all. And you know what? No one followed up. Not one. Like I'd been waiting backstage for applause that never came. I started running every morning. Not for fitness, just to burn off the rage. Took on freelance work. Focused on paying off debt. Something had to hurt more than this, and I figured I'd keep going until I found it. I didn't even know if I'd ever see them again. But deep down, I think I hoped I would. Jason and Claire got married. I wasn't there. Obviously. I didn't even know the date until someone tagged me in a blurry Instagram story. They posted the usual garbage, over-filtered photos, fake laughs, her posing like she's on the cover of some lifestyle magazine. Jason looked like a deer in headlights. The kind of guy who realizes too late that the door behind him just locked. No one mentioned I was missing. Not publicly. That's how these things go. The friend group just adjusted. Like a chair being quietly removed from the table. A couple people messaged me after the wedding, like, "Hey, missed you at the big day," or "Hope you're doing okay." I ignored all of it. At first, I tried to fill the hole with work, took on a third freelance gig, and picked up weekend shifts at this sketchy bar that paid in cash. Not glamorous, but it kept me moving. Gave me something to do besides sit in my apartment wondering how the hell I let that whole situation happen. I started therapy too. Just once. Didn't go back. The therapist asked me to describe my core wound, and I nearly laughed in her face. It wasn't just betrayal. It was the fact that I hadn't seen it coming. I thought Jason was my ride or die. Turns out, he was just a guy who hated conflict more than he valued loyalty. But hey, some things changed. I stopped drinking as much, started sleeping better, got serious about my career, launched my own consulting thing, and finally quit that bartending job. Moved into a slightly nicer apartment where the windows actually opened and the neighbors didn't scream at each other at 2 a.m. Still, the bitterness lingered. Social media was a landmine. Claire became one of those people who posted candid selfies with captions like, "When you marry your best friend," and surround yourself with people who uplift you. I wanted to comment so badly. Something petty. Something that would make her squirm. But I didn't. Instead, I muted them both. The friend group, though, that was messier. Some people stayed neutral. They'd like my posts and his. Comment LOL on mine, send fire emojis on his. They played both sides like they were auditioning for Survivor. Others made their choice, quietly. I noticed who unfollowed me, who stopped replying to texts, who showed up in Claire's birthday posts but never even liked my new job announcement. It's funny how silence speaks louder than words. You start reading into everything. Did Mark really forget to invite me to that housewarming party? Or did he assume I wouldn't want to come because Claire might be there? Spoiler, she wasn't even there. I stopped trying to decode it after a while. If people wanted to drift, I let them. By the time a full year had passed, I was running my own business, had a dog I didn't hate, and had mostly accepted that the version of my life with Jason in it had ended. Then, one day, I was at this networking event. Real boring, fake smiles, everyone pretending they weren't just there for LinkedIn clout. And I saw Emily. Yeah, that Emily. Claire's old maid of honor. The one from the Claire group chat screenshots. I hadn't seen her since the wedding chaos. She looked relaxed. Way less polished than I remembered. Hair in a messy bun, black boots, iced coffee in hand, even though it was like December. We made eye contact. She did a little half wave. I walked over. And you know what? It wasn't awkward. Not even a little. She said, "So, you survived." I said, "Barely." We ended up grabbing drinks after the event. She told me she wasn't really friends with Claire anymore. Apparently a few months into the marriage, Claire had one of her classic meltdowns and accused Emily of stealing attention at a dinner party because someone complimented her shoes. We talked for hours. About everything. The wedding, the fallout, Jason's cowardice, Claire's ego, the friend group's pathetic silence. It felt like therapy, but fun. Emily had changed too. She'd started a small photography business. Moved out of the city. Got a cat. Wasn't dating anyone serious, just vibing, as she put it. We didn't exchange numbers that night. I thought it would end there. A weird but satisfying full-circle moment. But a week later, she followed me on Instagram. Then she commented on one of my posts. Then we started messaging and texting. And, well, you can guess where this is going. But here's the thing. It didn't feel like a rebound. It felt like two people who had been through the same storm and came out clean on the other side. There were no games. No power struggles. Just honesty. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I felt good. About 2.5 years after their wedding, Jason popped up in my inbox. A random Saturday morning, middle of January, and there it was, a message from him on Instagram. No subject. Just, "Hey man, long time. Hope you're doing all right." I stared at it for a solid 5 minutes. Not because I didn't know what to say, because I knew I wasn't going to say anything. Left it on unread and got back to making pancakes with Emily. See, by then, things were solid between us. No weird dynamics, no back and forth drama. She knew the whole Jason story. Obviously, she'd lived through a good chunk of it too, but we didn't let it define us. When we talked about the past, it wasn't in a bitter, obsessive way. More like a war story. Something we both survived. But Jason was unraveling. I didn't realize it fully until people started sending me screenshots again. A friend from college DM'd me like, "Is he okay?" with a post from Jason's story, some cryptic quote like, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them." Very dramatic. Especially from a guy whose entire personality used to be chill tech bro who microdoses for clarity. Apparently, Claire had started spiraling. It began small. Subtweets. Passive-aggressive captions. "Ugh, I'm just doing everything myself again." Then came the Instagram purge. Claire deleted every wedding photo, every couple shot, changed her bio from "wife marketer manifesting my best life" to just "marketing director opinions my own." Classic. The digital version of slamming a door. Word spread fast. Not through direct messages. Of course, nobody wanted to say anything. But the silence was loud. Group chats that had been dead for a year suddenly lit up with people asking if anyone had heard from Claire or Jason. One friend, let's call him Drew, sent me a blurry snap from a mutual story. Claire at a party, clearly tipsy, ranting about how some people pretend to be loyal but just wait around like vultures. Subtle. Around that time, Jason messaged me again, this time on WhatsApp. I know things ended weird between us. I'd like to talk sometime, if you're open to it. Weird. That's what he called it. Not, I stabbed you in the back, or, I chose someone who lied to us both, but just weird. I didn't answer. Because here's the thing, it wasn't about holding a grudge. It was about recognizing when someone only reaches out after their house starts burning down. Jason wasn't apologizing. He was free-falling. And suddenly I looked like solid ground. I wasn't. That stability? That was something I built from scratch, brick by brick, with Emily beside me. Funny thing is, we reconnected totally by accident. Ran into each other at a mutual friend's gallery opening. I was there for the wine and awkward small talk. She was there because her roommate dragged her out of a breakup slump. We talked for 15 minutes like no time had passed. And when we left, I didn't get her number, just said, good to see you, and meant it. A week later, she messaged me on LinkedIn of all places. Said she had a client who might need a consultant in my field. She didn't. That was just her excuse. We met for coffee and didn't talk about work once. 3 months later, we were a thing. No fireworks. No drama. Just someone who saw me fully and didn't flinch. And that's what made everything with Jason and Claire feel even smaller. Because once you're in something real, you start seeing how fake the old shit was. Jason kept trying every few months. A comment here. A like there. Once he even reacted haha to a meme I posted about bad friends. Real subtle dude. But I never blocked him. I didn't need to. People like Jason, they do the blocking for you. Emotionally, morally, spiritually. The second they decide your discomfort is less important than their convenience. By the end of year 4, Claire had officially moved out. Jason deleted every trace of her online and went full wellness bro, started a podcast. Posted reels about lessons from heartbreak. I never listened, but I saw the titles. One was literally called Rebuilding Trust After Losing Yourself. You lost me, Jason. You didn't misplace me in a pile of laundry. You burned the bridge for a girl who never even bothered to carry water. Emily and I watched his latest reel once while brushing our teeth. She just said, man, that poor guy still thinks he's the victim. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because she was right. So here's where things start getting poetic. Emily and I got engaged on a Tuesday. No grand gestures. No drone footage. Just us, sitting on the couch in pajamas, splitting a pint of ice cream and joking about how every other couple we knew had divorced or moved to Austin to recenter. She asked if I wanted to get married somewhere warm. Maybe a destination thing? I said, you know what'd be hilarious? And that's how the idea started. Same venue, same band, same damn cake, down to the ridiculous lemon almond frosting Claire swore was elevated. Emily raised an eyebrow. You want to copy their wedding? No, I said. I want to reclaim it. And bless her, she didn't even hesitate. See, Emily never liked Claire. Thought she was all teeth and Instagram captions. But more than that, she understood something most people didn't. I wasn't doing this for revenge. Not really. I didn't want Jason to suffer. I just wanted him to see. I wanted him to sit there, quietly, politely, like I did 5 years ago, and watch everything he blew up unfold again, but better. This time, with people who actually gave a damn. We booked the venue without saying a word to anyone. Just dropped the deposit and smiled. A month later, we hired the same band. I didn't even ask if they remembered Jason's wedding. Didn't matter. The only thing I told them was, play it like it's your redemption arc. The cake? That was just petty icing. Planning a wedding is exhausting. But planning a wedding that doubles as an emotional mic drop? Surprisingly motivating. The guest list was the real minefield. We kept it small, tight. People we actually loved. People who'd shown up during the mess, not just when the champagne flowed. But we did one thing. We sent Jason an invite. Front row. No +1. No note. No message. Just a quiet little envelope with his name printed in the same damn font Claire used. I didn't even care if he came. That wasn't the point. The point was he'd know. He'd see the name, the venue, the date, and understand exactly what was happening. Claire didn't get one. She'd burned that bridge too thoroughly. Even Emily wasn't interested in throwing her a bone. But people talk. And a few weeks after the invites went out, our group chat. Yes, the original one, the graveyard of birthday wishes and meme spam, suddenly lit up. Someone had posted a screenshot. Jason's wedding invite. Side by side with his own wedding invite from 5 years ago. Same venue. Same design. Same band mentioned in the corner. The caption just said, History repeats itself. Brutal. After the invite leak, everything went weirdly quiet. The group chat died again. No one wanted to pick a side. No one wanted to say the obvious. Jason had been served a poetic middle finger on silver-plated cardstock, and there wasn't a single move he could make that wouldn't make it worse. Emily and I kept planning like none of that existed. Not because we were above it. We just had better things to do. We found this florist who turned out to be a miracle worker with leftover eucalyptus and an attitude problem. Our photographer was a friend of a friend who shot the whole thing on film and made every frame look like a goddamn Vogue editorial. The band started sending us playlists to pick from, and every time a track overlapped with Jason's old set list, I clicked, yes, just a little harder. We weren't being mean. We were being poetic. There's a difference. We made one more choice that stirred the pot. We asked Lily. Yes, that Lily, who used to be Claire's other bridesmaid, to do a reading at the ceremony. I hadn't talked to her in years. But when she picked up the phone, the first thing she said was, "Holy shit, is this about that wedding?" I laughed. Sort of. But mostly, it's about doing things right. Lily showed up with a printed speech in a black dress that would have made Claire cry from envy. No drama. No shade. Just a quiet nod to the fact that life keeps going. And some of us actually learn from the past. The week before the wedding, I got a text from an unknown number. "Jason, didn't think you'd actually go through with it." Bold move. I stared at it for a while. Didn't reply. What was there to say? Sorry you ruined everything, and now you have to watch me do it better? Nah. Silence was louder. And it worked. 2 days later, someone else from the friend group messaged me. "Jordan. So, just heard Jason's coming." I didn't respond to that either. Let him come. Let him sit. Let him stew. We weren't going to perform for him. We weren't going to kick him out or confront him or put on a show. That was the whole point. Jason wasn't the main character anymore. Not in my life. Not in this wedding. He was just a seat filler. Emily and I had one last planning session the night before. We walked through the venue alone after setup. The same lights. Same chairs. Same stage. But this time, it didn't feel like a performance. It felt like a full-circle moment that didn't need applause. Emily looked at me and said, "You ready?" I said, "I've been ready for 5 years." And I meant it. The morning of the wedding, I woke up calm. Not hyped. Not anxious. Just solid. I had my coffee, double-checked the playlist, tied my shoes. Every minute felt like exhaling a breath I didn't know I'd been holding since that first betrayal. When Jason looked me in the eye and told me it wasn't personal, like that was supposed to make it sting less. We didn't do a huge prep scene. No champagne spray. No matching robes. Just a few friends, some dumb banter, and one guy who brought the wrong tie and somehow managed to wear it backward for 10 minutes without noticing. At one point, someone asked, "You think he's actually going to show?" I didn't even have to ask who he was. I shrugged. Doesn't matter. And it didn't. That was the best part. The venue filled up faster than I expected. People actually showed up early, and not just to get the good seats. It was like they felt this was going to be one of those weddings. The kind people talk about for years, but not because of the food or the open bar. Because of the subtext. Front row, second seat from the aisle, sat Jason. Hair a little longer than before. Suit that didn't quite fit like it used to. That familiar frozen smile expression he always wore when things didn't go the way he planned. He didn't bring anyone. Sat alone, hands folded, like he was trying to blend into the furniture. He watched me walk in. Our eyes didn't meet. And I swear, that was the most satisfying moment of the entire day. Because he knew. Everyone knew. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't payback. This was the quiet triumph of someone who'd been counted out, and came back not just stronger, but kinder, better, realer. Someone who didn't need to shout to win. I took my place up front. The band kicked off the same intro they used for his wedding. A few heads turned. I didn't. Then Emily came down the aisle. Every head turned, including his. She looked like peace, like clarity, like a future. No over-the-top gown, no fake tears, just a real smile, locked on me. She reached the front, took my hands, and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. Perfect. The ceremony was short. We didn't want a performance, just a promise. Lily's reading landed hard. Something about love showing up when you stop looking for proof and start looking for patterns. I glanced out of the corner of my eye and saw Jason shift in his seat, like the words found a nerve. But again, no drama. He didn't stand up, didn't interrupt, didn't leave. He just watched. Watched the woman who used to share a group chat with his ex-fiancé become my wife. Watched the band he overpaid for finally hit their notes. Watched me say the vows he never could. And I didn't look back. Not once. Because this time, the only direction that mattered was forward. The reception felt like a fever dream. Not wild or chaotic, just charged. Every joke landed. Every song felt like the perfect one. Every glance carried history. People kept coming up to us with this mix of excitement and disbelief, like they couldn't believe we pulled it off. But we didn't pull anything. We just lived long enough to get here. At one point during dinner, I caught Jason standing by the bar, alone again, no drink in his hand, just staring at the table layout, probably trying to figure out why he was seated in the front row like a VIP, but hadn't been greeted like one. He didn't stay long, didn't say anything to me or Emily, didn't talk to anyone. He just slipped out right before the cake cutting, but not before I saw him take a long look at the cake. Same exact flavor combo Claire had designed for their wedding, except ours wasn't tiered and towering and tacky. It was simple, honest, good, like everything else in our life. And yeah, I did watch him walk out. That was the only moment I let myself look directly at him. Not because I wanted to gloat, because I wanted to remember the silence, the lack of apology, the weight of absence. Some people go out with a bang. Jason went out like a phone with 2% battery and no charger in sight. The rest of the night? Pure joy. Emily's speech? Killed. Our first dance. Not choreographed, not flashy. Just us, laughing through the awkward steps and not caring if we looked dumb. People didn't just stay late. They lingered. Nobody wanted to be the first to leave. They said it felt like closure. Even the ones who hadn't picked a side said it. Especially them. And maybe that was the best revenge of all. Not the wedding. Not the invite. Not the cake or the music or the venue. Just the fact that I never had to say a word. I didn't have to rub anything in. Didn't have to make a speech or take a shot or post a quote about karma. I just lived my life. And they saw it. So yeah, Jason got replaced. But not by force. By time. By silence. By truth. He let me go when he thought I'd always be around. And by the time he looked back, I was already gone. Funny thing about weddings, they bring out the worst in people trying to look their best. 5 years ago, I stood in the shadows of someone else's big day, wondering what I'd done wrong. Turns out, I just wasn't willing to play the part they wrote for me. I wasn't best man material because I remembered things they wanted to forget. But time's a hell of a filter. It strains out the fake, the fragile, the ones who only show up for the highlight reel. What's left? That's the good stuff. The people still standing with you when the music's gone. The ones who don't flinch at the messy chapters. Emily saw me when I was still piecing myself together. She didn't need the polished version. And in the end, I didn't need revenge. Just peace.